And of course, the reaction to these struggles has been the benching of Juice Williams, the same Juice Williams that put up 800, yards of total offense against Michigan in the Big House, was slightly over 300. Ian McGee is going to step in, Andy. I mean, is quarterback the problem here?
No, I mean, it's Ron Zook, as Scott kind of just covered. You look at Ian McGee, he's basically a carbon copy of Juice Williams, small little guy that's going to be running around. You see Juice Williams, you know what he gets for his reward? Last game, he surpassed the all-time career yardage at Illinois, and then he gets benched. I see it as inconsistencies at the coaching level and just poor logic, so...
Yeah, and we're looking at some of the highlights from Juice last year. Who would have thought that a year from this game here he'd be riding the bench? He was just outstanding in this game, and he's got all the physical tools. Look at him running up the middle. You saw that deep bomb in the play before. He's a good quarterback with a lot of talent, and you just wonder how you can end up in a situation where he's riding the bench in favor of a junior quarterback.
There you go, 431 total yards. Just absolutely silly. And of course, an interesting week around the country as well. LSU goes to Georgia, wins for the first time in 26 years. Well, 26 years. You can take a look at the top 10. Not a lot of changes up there, though. Miami, Florida, continuing their very, very good season, despite that one loss to Virginia Tech. Beating Oklahoma, of course, the Sam Bradford-less Oklahoma Sooners, but still a pretty impressive game. And then also of note in this past week, USC destroying Cal. And we'll skip Miami and Oklahoma when we talk about Oklahoma in upcoming weeks when they take on Texas, which was supposed to be, deciding the Big 12 champion now. Doesn't look like Oklahoma's even in the conversation without Sam Bradford. But let's talk about USC Cal, Andy. This is a Cal team that was top 5 a couple weeks ago. Whoa, what happened? I mean, we've seen this before from Cal, I suppose.
I mean, yeah, it's vintage Cal. I mean, I see it as just an inferior team in the Pac-10, getting some early wins, building some momentum and just falling apart. Great players or not, you see Javad Best, he did nothing in that game. It was ridiculous. You're supposed to have your good, solid players stepping up, as we talked about Minor and Carlos Brown earlier. It's something that needs to happen if teams want to win games. And when it doesn't happen, they lose. So California, big players didn't step up. Inconsistency coaching with Tedford, it wasn't going to work out.
Well, let's move the discussion from Cal now to the other coast. Florida LSU is what that big LSU win sets up. Number 1 against number 4 this weekend in Death Valley. Of course, the question we're all worried about or wondering, because everyone loves Tim Tebow with 0 exceptions, is whether or not Tim Tebow is going to play in this game, Scott. But it's a night game at LSU. Urban Meyer against Les Miles. Who do you think is going to come out in this thriller? It's going to be a good game.
It'll be a very good game, and obviously the answer would be a lot easier if we knew whether Tim Tebow was playing. Obviously, the most recent news across the wire is that he has not been cleared to play. So, I mean, there's still some time to see, but the odds are he won't be. But even so, Florida's a very talented team. They're not, and you're looking at the Tebow hit right now. I'm not sure he's going to be back. Florida's a very talented team, even without Tim Tebow on the field. So I really think they're the better team. LSU hasn't lost yet. They played well last week against Georgia. But you look at the week before, barely beating Mississippi State, needing a fantastic goal line stand to beat them. I think LSU is a little overinflated. I think they're a good team. I think they're a top 15 team. But I don't think they're a team that can beat arguably one of the better teams in college football over the past decade. So I see Florida coming out on top, even though it is in Death Valley, and even though Tim Tebow is unlikely to play.
John Brantley might start for Florida. Andy, tell us all about John Brantley. No, I'm just kidding. No one knows anything.
No one knows anything about John Brantley. What we do know is that he could be playing for the injured Tim Tebow.
Right.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna take the opposite side of you, Scott. Here, you saw LSU. They're coming off a huge victory. They have not won in Athens in years, and you have them in this massive defensive struggle, fighting hard for this victory. They are pumped. Okay, you're going to see them come into Florida, and they're probably going to knock John Brantley out of the game, whatever the heck his name is. You're going to see, this Florida team, I think, unravel against their first solid competition since Tim Tebow went down. So, I mean, obviously, we're just going to have to wait and see what's going on. But, if Tim Tebow plays, I don't see him being nearly as effective, and I don't see John Brantley being nearly as effective. So therefore, you're either going to need the Florida defense playing, outrageous, or you're going to have an LSU victory. I'm going for LSU.
All right, yeah, I think it's a coin toss as well. And quickly, guys, let's talk about the notable Big Ten matchup here, battle of the undefeateds in the conference at least, Wisconsin at Ohio State. Quickly, predictions, guys. There's no chance Wisconsin wins this game at the Horseshoe. Is there, Scott?
I mean, I'll give them a puncher's chance. I think Ohio State's a far better team, but you never know if Wisconsin really comes to play. They are sort of riding a hot streak. They've moved into the top 25 in the national rankings, so maybe they'll have enough of an ego to think they can play with Ohio State. The bottom line is Ohio State's a much better team. They have a fantastic defense. Their running game is playing very well. So it's going to be a very steep hill for Wisconsin to climb, but I'll give them a puncher's chance anyways.
I mean, yeah, the thing you need to look at here, a puncher's chance is giving them a little credit, I think. You see Wisconsin, there are two, headline victories here are Michigan State and Minnesota, which neither game was convincingly won, 28-21 versus MSU and 30-28 versus Minnesota. I mean, I see Terrell Pryor, scoring every possession in the first half like he did last week. So, I mean, that's where I stand, and I guess we'll all see them right later.
All right, well, we have to go to commercial break, but coming up, we're going to break down Michigan's prime time appearance against Iowa this upcoming Saturday. Welcome back to Varsity Blue. Running out of time, but that's when we perform best, just like Tate Forcier.
Under pressure.
Under pressure.
Never nervous.
So, never nervous. Never, ever, ever nervous. Actually, Tom Brady had a very interesting quote over the weekend, which is totally tangential, but he said he never has lacked confidence in anything that he has ever done, which I find completely
What
shocking.
about the first girl he asked out?
That's exactly what was popping in my
I just don't
mind.
see it.
Anyway, hubris from Michigan quarterbacks aside, let's start to break down this Iowa game, guys. It's going to be at night, 8 o'clock for people in the real world here in Eastern Time, 7 o'clock in the Central Time Zone in Iowa City. Let's take a look at Iowa, number 3 scoring defense in the Big Ten, number 10 scoring offense. +5 turnover margin. That's pretty good. Number 2 in the Big Ten. Number 9 in total offense. Number 3 in total defense. Obviously, defensive-oriented team without a ton of playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. But just for yucks, here you go. Rick Stanzi, over 1,000 yards passing, omitted that. 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Adam Robinson at running back, splitting carries with Brandon Wegner. And then Marvin McNutt and Trey Strauss, who both would be leading receivers actually on Michigan. Perhaps that's just because of Michigan's wealth at the receiver position. But what are you looking for in this game, guys? What do you think is going to be the key to victory? Or let's start with this. The key to Michigan moving the ball, Andy.
Well, I mean, the key to Michigan moving the ball is going to be Tate, getting his composure, spreading the ball around evenly, and establishing a running game again. I can't stress that more here. We're going to need Brandon Miner and Carlos Brown to step up. Get some Michael Shaw in there. We'll just dash a little of that, little of this. It's going to be great. We're in a pretty good position right now. We're 4-1. No need to panic. Just have Tate go out there, business as usual. Hopefully, get it together a little bit. I think we can take this victory.
And of course, this Iowa defense held Penn State to only 10 points at home, in a primetime game in Happy Valley, Scott. And there's some good players. Evan Royster, Darrell Clark on that Penn State team. Defense returns 8 starters. Are you concerned with the Iowa defense against the Michigan offense?
Well, I'm very concerned, especially if the Michigan offense keeps playing like they did last week. But Andy kind of stole my thunder here. The 2 best players on Michigan's offense, Carlos Brown, Brandon Miner. And if they really are the best players, they've got to step their game up. And I'm looking for them to have a really good game if Michigan wants to win this ball game on Saturday.
And, I don't think I could create, with the voodoo doll or whatever, a better offense for this Michigan defense to face because it does lack, big-time playmakers. No, Denard Robinson's lurking on Iowa's rosters. We're running out of time, guys. Quickly, Scott, we'll start with you. Win-loss score.